The hardest part is getting on the mat. Here we are, welcome to our practice. As you can see, even the flowers are blooming for us, so let's start straight at the front of the mat in the Savasana with the feet spread so that we have greater balance when we close the eyes. Standing meditation. Check that your feet are parallel, that the inner arches are lifting, and that you really feel that you're pressing into the four wheels of each of your feet. So we all have a tendency to kind of lean in or lean out or be too much forward or too far back on the heels. Really making sure that as much as possible you're feeling the four wheels of each of your feet, so that from there the legs can rise up, can be firm, can be strong, leading into the hips, the spine. The shoulders rolling back, the arms extending down, and the eyes closing. Soft, smooth inhalations and exhalations. And then lifting the hands, the palms pressing together. And from the heart, opening this practice with one more. Inhale. Hands coming down. The chin lifting back up, the eyes opening. And joining your feet together, Savasana. Give the same attention to your feet, spreading the toes, being in the four wheels of each of your feet. And from there, the firmness of the legs rising up, that grippiness, the tailbone moving forward, the pubic bone lifting, the organs lifting, and the sternum plate flowering open to the sky. Cross the thumbs in front, inhale the arms up. Feel the difference with the feet joined. Pressing down, lift up. And then bring the arms back down, change the cross of the thumbs. Inhale, lift up. Open the eyes, brighten the eyes. Lift the sternum plate. And then back down, placing the hands on the hips, move the elbows back, the upper outer arms back. Keep the heels firm, press into the heels and begin to move the hips back, the knees bending, the hips moving back, the thigh bones coming into the hip sockets. Feel your heels, feel your feet, Ardha Utkatasana, and then extending the arms up. Full Utkatasana. And then exhaling forward so that the abdomen rubs the front thighs, and from there, straightening the legs, Uttanasana. Once again, bend the knees, draw the thigh bones into the hip sockets, drop the head down, preparing to straighten, inhale, and exhale, straighten the legs completely, grip the knees and thighs up, pull yourselves closer. And one last time, bending the knees, the hips moving back, the thighs coming into the hip sockets. Preparing to straighten, inhale, and exhale, straighten the legs, grip the kneecaps up, grip the thigh muscles up, pull yourselves closer, and 2, and 1. Stepping back, finding Adho Mukha Svanasana with bent knees and heels lifted. Stretch your arms straight, broaden the shoulders, lower the head down. Look at your feet, adjust as needed, lift the heels up. Feel your way up the length of the legs to the head of the femur bone, that crucial point, that connection, and feel the buttocks lift when that connection takes place. And from there, inhale. And exhale, straighten the legs. Squeeze the inner knee, the outer knee, the outer knee, the inner knee. Push the front thighs back. And then lifting the head up and turn the hands open away from each other so that the shoulders broaden more. Coming from downward dog with our hands turned open straight into upward dog with the exhale. And exhaling back to downward dog. Lift the heels again, lift the buttocks. Okay, you know what's coming. Inhale. And exhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Press into the tops of the feet. Roots of the thighs still firm. Pump the chest up. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Relax the neck and head. Push those front thighs back. The weight of the pose moving back. Ready? Inhale. And exhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Keep the shoulders as broad as possible, the front shoulders moving back. Lift the sternum plate up. Press down to lift up. And exhaling back, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. As you lower the head, check with your eyes or feet. Spread the toes again. Lift the heels higher. Push the front thighs back and lift the sit bones higher. Enter the pose more deeply. Now relax the back of the neck and the brain. Be with breath. And now stepping the right leg forward to a nice wide lunge. Moving that back leg back. And rocking ourselves forward and backwards. Greasing those hips, those groins, those legs. Now rest the back knee on the mat and move the knee back. So you're lengthening the possibility of the stretching of the left front thigh. And if you're able to, coming down onto the forearms. Let the pose do its work, just being with the breath, the fluidity of the breath. And then rising back up, and bring this foot now to the middle of the mat. You'll be able to move your knee back a little bit more. And now this right arm comes underneath this leg, underneath the calf, make a fist, come onto the forearm and let this leg open. You'll feel it in the hips. The foot should be in line with the face. Extreme pigeon pose. Inhale. And exhaling down. See if you can kiss the feet. And then coming back up and back to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana with the heels lifted and the hands turned open. Preparing with our next exhale for Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward dog. Ready? Inhale. And exhaling to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Get those front hip bones as close as possible to the hands. Charge the legs, roll the shoulders back. And exhaling back to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Ready for a second one? Inhale. And exhaling, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Walk the feet closer, get the hip bones as close as possible to the hands. Press the middle buttocks forward, the tailbone forward, lift that pubic bone up, get the arch to the middle back, the upper back. And exhaling back to Ardha Mukha. Make sure the heels are still lifted. Keep trying to push the weight of the pose back with the exhale. I know we're getting tired. Keep trying to push back. Ready? Last upward dog. Inhale. And exhaling. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. And exhaling. Ardha Mukha Svanasana. And then looking up, and we are so ready for a lunge on the left-hand side. Moving that foot back and pushing ourselves forward and backwards. And then bending the knee down, moving the knee back, lengthening this front thigh already from the get-go. And if we're able to, coming to the forearms. Exhale, surrendering, trusting that through the breath, allowing ourselves to melt towards the ground, being resistance-free. The pose is doing the best work that it can for us. And then coming back up. And now we're moving this left foot to the middle of the mat. And we're moving the right knee back even more. The left hand making a fist, coming underneath the left calf. And here we have to trust a little bit and drop to the forearm. The leg coming open. Ready, extreme pigeon. Best pose to open the hips. Do this pose every day 3 times. Amazing results. And now, for now, let's just exhale and release into it. When we're in pain, we tend to shorten the breath, so look at the breath, really lengthen it, diffuse it. And then coming out. And back to Ardha Mukha Svanasana, but this time downward dog with the heels pressing down and the hands facing forward. So classical Ardha Mukha Svanasana. See if you can lift the toes up and densify the heels with each exhalation. And then looking up, walking the feet forward. Keep the width of the mat. Taking hold of our elbows, hanging Uttanasana. Finding both of our feet again and the 4 wheels in each foot. The grippiness of the legs, the firmness of the legs. And now bending the knees, the hips moving back. Widen the knees apart so the trunk can come in between the legs and pull the elbows towards the ground between the legs.
Keep bending the legs until you feel that your thighs are parallel to the earth. That's it. Keep the heels firm. The thighs being drawn into the hip sockets. Make those thighs as parallel as possible, and now squeeze the knees to the trunk. Squeeze in. Pull the elbows down. And now beginning to straighten. Slowly, agonizingly. That's it, the legs slowly straightening. Welcoming that burn. And just as they're about to straighten, find your breath again. Inhale, and with the final exhale, straighten the legs and pull the knees and thighs up firmly. And pull the elbows down again. And then release the hands, fingertips to the floor. Inhale, looking up. And coming back out. And the feet together. Savasana. All right, we are warmed up. We are feeling ready for the next session, which is standing poses. So grab blocks and a chair in case we need it, and be back here on the mat. One block on each side of the mat, waiting for us. The chair just stacked up against the wall. We'll come to it in a little bit. Starting off with Virabhadrasana II and Parsvakonasana action. So from the middle of our mat, Savasana. And jumping or stepping the feet nice and widely apart. Hand on the hips. All right, going to the right first. So prepare, turn that right leg open. Check the alignment of the legs, and with your hands on the hips, pull the hips in so they're centralized, not poking back, doing weird things, the buttocks going back. So press the buttocks forward, centralize the hips, grip the legs. We're just going to be bending down, coming back up, bending down, coming back up, looking at keeping the knee open and the hips stable. All right, let's do it. Inhale. Exhale, bend that leg, push the leg open, don't let it come in, keep the hips stable, and back up. Inhale, exhale again, just looking at keeping the knee open, the hips stable, and back up. Third time, inhale, and exhale, looking at pushing the knee open, keeping the hips stable, and 2, and 1, back up. All right, to the left-hand side. Prepare, grip, feel your hips, that tendency, and correct and stabilize by gripping. Inhale, and exhale, bend, knee open, hip stable, and back up. Inhale, and exhale, pushing the knee open, keeping the hip stable, back leg firm, and back up. Third time, inhale, and exhale, bend, knee open, grip the hips, and back up, and to the center. All right, release the hands, roll the shoulders out, release tension from effort, from that building up of focus. Let's go for our second round, to the right first. And this time, hands on hips still, make the feet wider than yours probably were, and just do a check. We want to go down as deeply as our body will allow, so that the thigh is parallel to the floor and the knee is above the heel, not above the foot. Really important that you move the foot widely enough so you can access this. Okay, so when you've adjusted and we're ready for our second round, we're going to be coming down, keeping the hips stable, and then we'll be moving the left arm to the thigh to make sure that we're pushing it open whilst keeping the hips stable. So holding it a little bit longer and a little bit more deeply. Inhale. And exhale. Make a square. Stability in the hips. Don't let them move. Push this leg open. Squeeze that back in the knee. And 2. And 1. Back up. Inhale. And exhale. Make a square. Stability in the hips. Push this leg open. Squeeze the back of the knee. And one. Coming back up. Third and final time. Stability in the hips. Inhale. Exhale, make a square. Really get that square action. Push the leg open. Be stable in the hips. Firm in the back leg. 2. And 1. Back up. And coming through the middle. And just release a little bit from tension. As you can see, we're getting more deeply into the hips. Let's go to the left. And do a check on our distance. We might have shortened as we turned. And then once we've got the distance, hands on the hips. And centralize those hips, which have a tendency to accommodate us all the time. So really keeping an eye on the firmness. Inhale. Exhale, make a square. Push the leg open, firm those hips. Squeeze the inner knee of the back leg. And 2. And 1. Back up. Inhale, lift the chest. And exhale, make that square. Push the leg open. That's it. Squeeze this back leg. Centrality in the hips. And 2. And 1. Back up. Third and final time. Inhale. And exhale. Make a square. Push the leg open. Squeeze the outer hips together. Push into the outside edge of that foot. And 2. And 1. Back up. Turn the feet in. Wiggle them in. And then turn them together. Tadasana. Hanging Uttanasana before we move into the third variation. So turn the toes in, the heels out. Take hold of the elbows. And exhaling forward. Drop the head right down. Breathing here. Relax the face completely. And then nodding back up. And releasing. Alright, third variation. So, from Savasana. And jumping, hands on the hips. Having the same distance as you did the last time, the wider version. We can really get the leg as parallel as possible to the floor. Let's turn the right leg open. And I'll show you once again. So, centralize the hips. Grip the legs. Inhale. Exhale, make that square, push the leg open, squeeze the hips in again. All right, now making fists with our hands, placing them at the juncture of the thigh and the hip. Inhale, and exhale, pull this back and bring the trunk sideways. And back up, and then we'll do that 3 times, etc. And then the other side. So it works the legs stronger and we really feel the differentiation between the trunk coming forward and now the hips being from centralized to moving back to accommodate the coming in of the trunk. So, are we ready? Nice and firm, central hips, grip the legs, lift the chest, inhale. Exhale, make that square, really dare to make the square, push the thigh open. Okay, making the shape with our hands from centralized hips. Inhale. Exhale. Leaning over, pull the hips back and draw this thigh bone in. Good, back up, ready? Inhale. And exhale. Pull the hips back, the femur in. Good, and again, back up. Last one, inhale. And exhale. That's it, feeling that. Squeeze the back of the knee, and 2. And 1, back up. Centralize the hips. Check the leg. And back up. Feet facing forward, and just release. Turn the head, don't allow effort to accumulate and become a knot. Release it out, both mind and body. All right, the other side. Turning that left foot open and taking the width that's right to aim for excellence in the pose, as my teacher would say. So same thing. Hips stable first. Inhale. Exhale, make that square. Push the leg open. Feel the centrality of the hips. Make the shape with the arms. Inhale. Exhale, trunk. One side to the left, hips moving back, and that front femur being drawn in. That's it, feel that. And then central hips back up. Inhale. And exhale, pull the hips back, femur coming in. That's it. And back to the middle, hip central. Squeeze that back inner knee. Last one, inhale. Exhale. That's it, and 2. Good, and 1. Back through the center, through it. Lift the chest. And then hands on hips, back up. Turn the toes in. Heels in, toes in, heels in, toes in. And slowly we'll jump the feet together. Savasana. Deep inhalation. Deep exhalation. Turning, hanging Uttanasana. Changing the cross of the arms. Lift the arms up. Fold, hold on to the elbows. And exhaling forward. Hanging Uttanasana. Slow the breath down, relax all of the muscles of the face, and let the head hang completely so that the brain is pacified. And then coming back up. And out. Right, turning to face the front. We're preparing, we're ready for the final variation of this. We're going to use the blocks now. So let's jump the feet and arms apart. We now know our distance. We're not going to have the hands on the hips, but our hips, remember the feeling. So turn the right leg open, centralize those hips, grip the legs, stretch the arms apart, and keep the back arm and the back leg alert and firm. Inhale. Exhale, make that square. Hip central, leg moving open, lift the chest. Inhale. Exhale, trunk to the right, hips moving back. Draw the front femur bone in. Now reach, place the hand on the block, and stretch the left arm to the sky. Don't over lean into the block. Still all the strength in the legs. Feel the hips moving back, the trunk coming down. Then turn the top arm and extend to the fullness of the pose, but stay in touch with everything we learned. Keep pressing that front thigh against the arm, twisting from there. Back leg firm, hips moving back, trunk moving forward, that's it. And 3, and 2, and 1. Arm back up, coming out through the stages, watching the hips. And back up. Turning the feet in. And releasing the arms, releasing tension, head from right to left so we don't take it on here because the arms are involved. All right, ready for the other side? I hope it's all coming together for you. Let me know how this was for you, doing it incrementally like this. So left leg forward, the nice distance, and centralize. Stretch the arms, firmness in the back arm, in the back leg, coming through our stages. Inhale. Exhale, make that square. Press the thigh open. Centralize those hips. Now second stage, inhale. Exhale, reach and move the hips back. Reach the trunk forward, draw that front femur in. Hand coming down to the block and the right arm to the sky. Keep drawing that front femur in, feeling the hips move back and the trunk coming sideways there. Good, now turn the top arm and extend. Maximum openness to the waist here. Still power on the back leg. Press this front thigh against the arm to turn and twist up to the sky. Draw the femur in, stretch the waist, and 3, and 2, and 1. Bring the arm back up, stay firm for the last bit. Come up, centralize the hips. And back up, well done. Turning the feet in. And then jumping the feet together. Savasana. And and hanging Uttanasana. Lift the arms up, change the cross of the arms, exhaling forward. Pull the arms back behind the ears. Let the breath even out. And now begin to bend the legs, the hips moving back, and more specifically feeling the femur coming in. So the hips move back, the trunk moves forward. The hips move back, the trunk moves forward. Widen the knees apart so you can be in between your legs. And keep going with that action. Hips back, femurs in, trunk forward. And then squeeze the knees to the trunk again. Heels down. And now slowly straightening. Keep wrapping the muscles around the thigh bones. We're tired, don't let everything go lax. Draw in. Firmness, exhale, straighten the legs, squeeze the quadriceps up, pull the elbow tips down. And now changing the cross of the arms. One last Malasana squat. Ready? Bending our knees, thinking of the hips moving back and the trunk moving forward. Hips moving back, femurs coming in, trunk moving forward. Make sure the knees are wide enough to take the broadness of your trunk. Hips moving back, trunk moving forward, coming down, down. Femurs into the hips. Squeeze the shoulders with your knees. Squeeze the outer trunk with the legs, that's it. And 3, and 2, and 1. Slowly straightening, keep pulling the elbow tips down. At one point the legs will tremble if they're working. Moving through that, breathing through that, pulling the elbows down at the last bit, just as they're about to straighten. Inhale. And then exhale, straighten completely. Squeeze the knees and thighs up, femurs in, pull the elbows down. And as I exhale, releasing, coming back up. And exhale, stepping the feet together. Okay, time for Virabhadrasana. Wide legs with our buttocks against the wall. And let's bring our chair in now. Well, hang on. Let's move our mat to the wall, move the blocks out of the way, and take a bolster and meet back here, do it properly. After all the work that we've done with our legs and our hips, this is going to be absolutely perfect. So let's take a nice wide stance. Width, taking that distance, but don't have the heels against the wall yet. Chair in front with the bolster is going to be for our arms. So we're gripping the legs and the thighs are rolling in so that as we come forward, the groins are moving back and the inner sit bones are spreading. Now we're moving the heels to the wall. Both of them one at a time. And then with the firmness of the heels in place, we're pushing the thighs back until our sit bones meet the wall. And then feel the thighs rolling in so the sit bones spread. The wall is there to tell you what your sit bones are doing, what your inner hips are doing, and what your heels are doing and legs are doing. Very useful, right? Now the chair, finding the right distance so that you can hold onto the elbows, have the forehead on the bolster, but still be pressing the buttock bones back to the wall. So adjust as needed, and then come and join me here in supported Virabhadrasana. Now from where you are, you can see your own feet. If the toes are really white, it indicates too much pressure on the toes, which generally also indicates not enough density in the heels. So lift the toes up, and specifically also lift the inner arch to the outside edge of the foot. So the big toe action will lift a little bit more, and really seal the outer skirting of the feet down into the mat. Now make sure your knees are being drawn up by the quadriceps. The quadriceps are gripping up the length of the thigh bones, and the top thighs are rolling in, right at the very top, rolling in, and you feel the widening of your inner sit bones. As the inner sit bones widen, so the inner hips are also getting broad, and therefore with each breath, more pranic oxygenation happening, more healing potential through that broadness. Keep pushing the front thighs back. So the front thighs are gripping up and they're also pushing back. And when you feel, when they push back, then the buttock bones are even firmer against the wall. So lots happening in the legs. Try to stay in touch with all of that continually. And now let's change the cross of the arms. So changing the cross of the elbows. See if you can walk your inner elbows forward. But don't let the trapezius muscles creep up towards the ears. Push them down, away from the ears, and you'll feel the armpit area opening, and you'll feel the neck also getting length. And then looking up and coming out. Here then toes in and back up. And just take Tadasana. Refind the four wheels of each of your feet. Make sure the sacrum's moving towards the heels. Shoulders back. Deep inhalation. Deep exhalation. And coming back out. Alright, so we're going to continue with the chair, and we're going to use the chair for supported back bends, Virabhadrasana as our Shirshasana. So bolster, some blankets, we're using the wall for our feet, so you may want blocks underneath your feet. Let's gather all that stuff and get to this beautiful pose. We have the wall. If your lower back is fragile, or this pose is quite intense for you, then you should definitely take blocks so that the floor is coming up higher, so less archingness, less demands on the lumbar. Have a strap, and then some comfort on the chair. I have a very light mat, so it's very easy to fold and put on the chair, but I know that a lot of people have really thick mats, in which case you want to put a blanket. And then we have a bolster and a blanket. So gathering all those things, and then let's step into the chair. So your heels will be on, in fact I'm going to move over a tiny bit so that I don't have this annoying wood stuff. And move this back too. So if you're using blocks for the feet, the heels will be here. It's really important that in the pose the legs are straight and that this rim of the chair needs to get the lower part of the shoulder blades, not the middle back, and definitely not the lower back. So that's a really common mistake. People slide far back too much. So as we're coming in, you're moving the buttocks forward, but we're just going to check our distance here. Moving the buttocks forward. So I'm 5'8" and my buttocks are off the chair. But this part of the chair is right where it should be. I feel it when I wiggle the shoulder blades. And then you need to be able to push your chair back, and that's where a lot of these chairs are annoying because they have these rubber things and they're hard to push, but there you go, you're pushing until the legs are straight, and lean back, and the bolster and the blanket should be there to connect with the crown of your head. So I'm going to come back up, feet to the mat, coming back up. So when you know you've got your distance, you need to get the strap. And we're going to strap our legs in. This is a new strap I'm trying out. It's really nice so far, but it's still very stiff. There we go. So tightening up the legs so that they don't splay. And this is going to help us to stay controlled in our hips and our outer thighs so that the lumbar has some firmness, not softness. We want softness in the middle and upper back. Malleability from here to up, not here. All right, let's come in. Moving those buttocks forward. Feet up if we're using blocks. And then pushing ourselves back and finding that sweet spot where everything just feels as right as possible. The hands are on the radius pressing down, and this is helping us to further lift the sternum plate up, to really expand in the lungs and the side lungs, to press the shoulder blades up. And now we're going to stretch the arms back. Keep the arms parallel. Don't let the hands become wider, which closes the shoulders, and don't let the hands come closer. If you feel that your bolster needs some adjusting, this is a perfect time to do it, of course. And now go ahead and bend the elbows and take hold of your elbows with your hands. And draw the forearms back towards the blanket and bolster. Deep, long inhalations and exhalations. Keep the hips stable and firm, the outer hips bolting towards each other, the heels firm, the thighs gripping and pressing down. And now let's re-stretch the arms. And then change the cross of the arms. So doing the second side. Long, deep, expanding inhalations. Long, deep, pacifying exhalations. Keep watching for the tendency we all have to let the buttocks go and to let them drop. So press into the heels, ignite the back legs firm, the buttocks moving towards the heels. And this is keeping the firmness in the lumbar area. Revolt the outer hips, pull the elbow tips back and down, and press those shoulder blades up. And then re-stretching the arms. And then bringing the hands back up to the railing. Press down with the hands on the railing and roll the front shoulders back, lift the chest. Relax the head and neck. And now, bending the knees, the feet to the floor. Bending the elbows and the upper arms to the chair, helping us to push ourselves up and draw the belly button back in towards the lower back. And then moving the buttocks back, and just allow yourselves to recover for a few breaths. It's a strong pose, we just want to come back to neutrality, everything settling. Before releasing ourselves from the grip of the strap. Sorry, buckle noise. And we are going to come straight from here into a Virabhadrasana. So move your hips and buttocks back, so you're taking up the whole seat, and widen your sit bones apart so that you're opening the inner hips. Same action, the inner sit bones that we felt against the wall in Virabhadrasana being felt here in seated Savasana. Turning to the right, the left hand moves across, the right hand moves back around the corner. That's it, all the way around. Now, two actions that need to happen together. The front right shoulder rolling back as the right shoulder blade presses forward. And let's do that again. The front right shoulder rolling back and the right shoulder blade pressing forward. So keep doing that over and over again, and then the hand will be able to walk even more. And back through the middle. Pull the sit bones apart a little again because they get disturbed. And now let's turn to the left, Virabhadrasana. And exhaling that arm around, all the way around the corner. Now feel the front of the left shoulder rolling back, and then press the left shoulder blade forward. Front of the left shoulder rolling back, press the left shoulder blade forward. Repeating that action over and over again. And then releasing. Hands coming out. We'll stick with the chair for the last pose here on the chair, Padana Mukha. So we're just turning around. Moving this, but taking the blanket and making a roll, which we're then pulling our abdomen, our bellies over as we come forward. Now what do we have here? We have the hips moving back and the trunk coming forward and the femurs succinctly being drawn into those hip sockets. So the feet are important. Without pushing into our feet and traveling up the legs and feeling the femurs come in, how can we move the hips back and the trunk forward? It's an integral part of that movement. Feeling it even here. If you can reach back, take hold of the back legs. Emerging. And welcome back from that. Alright, last little section left. Sarvangasana. Closing down the practice, letting everything settle. So let's stick with the chair. Let's put our mat back out. Let's do chair Sarvangasana. So bolster, blankets, chair, and mat back out. Leaning back for this last part. Here we are, and this is a nice solid basic setup, and then I'm going to elaborate on this. So bolster, blanket on the chair, nice to have a little extra sticky mat to stop that from slipping, and a blanket here. And now we're going to refine it. So I need a little more height, because I'm taller and because of the space between my hips and my shoulder, my hips need to be a little bit more lifted for me to really get the most out of chair Savasana. So one blanket, and I could even go with two, but I'm going to do one today, okay? And then we can fine tune this area. This bolster is for the shoulders, and then our neck comes down here and our head is here. So everybody has different shoulder, neck, jaw relationship. And it's worth tweaking and playing around and finding the right tweaks for you. In some of the past few classes, I've been doing this little cervical roll here, which can be really nice for some people. So then the head would be here, the shoulders here, and when you're in it, you're stable enough to reach back and make the roll a little bit bigger if needed for your neck. Today, I'm going to go with nothing. If you want to try this, or you have your own particular way, then of course, feel free. Experimenting and fine-tuning is a really satisfying part of the process, because then you're really engaged with the uniqueness of the vehicle that your soul has been given, working with that. Okay, so when you're all set up, we are coming in, and notice that I'm not close to the wall. We're not going to be having our feet against the wall. So just pointing that out to you. Coming in, legs over, and again moving our buttocks so that we can begin to lie down the chair, staying stable as we do so. So here we're feeling good, and we're ready to start sliding back the bolster, waiting for our shoulders. If you're kind of new to this, there's always a little moment where you think, oh my gosh, it's not going to happen, and you start getting fearful and arching the head back, and then you think, oh, I'm there, but the bolster's in the wrong spot. So this, you just have to bring the chin towards the throat and slide back a little more, and you'll feel the neck and the head start to go over the bolster. Now hold the chair and bring your feet to the railings, and move back a little bit more. So weight into the shoulders on the bolster. Now for those who have sensitive lower back, this pose can wake that up if they don't know about this little tweak. You want to make sure to bring your hips right to the edge of the seat if you're a fragile lower backer, so that there will absolutely be no pulling on that area. Now thread your arms between, if everything feels right with the neck and head and all of that, the blankets, thread your arms between the legs of the chair. So you're on the inside and reach back with your hands for the back 2 legs. And then really lift each shoulder up and roll each front shoulder back. Just like we did in our twist, where we roll the front shoulder back and we press the shoulder blade forward. We refine that action in this pose from a different angle. So you can see how the chest, the breasts, the side ribs are really being pushed, expanded, open. Keep pressing the arms down and pressing the back ribs up. Making sure that everything feels just right, adjusting, tweaking so that it does. And now let's extend the legs to the sky, finding Sarvangasana. So you see your legs, you see your feet. Make sure the back of the neck feels long, that you're not pressing into the back of your skull. And that's really common if we have tight shoulders, because the shoulders and the neck and the jaw and the skull are so linked. So we may have a lot of unconscious behaviors we have to kind of detangle, and this can take weeks, months, and years. So awareness there in this pose that we're not pressing into the back of the skull. We want to be in the shoulders. It's Sarvangasana shoulder stand, not skull stand. So keep the front throat soft. The front throat is always a really good indicator for us to know when we've gotten tense in the back neck. Because when the front throat is tight, then generally the back neck and the back skull are tight too. The toes and ankles and feet may go lax after a while, reigniting them with presence. And surrendering to that sense of letting the pose do you. Holding the pose to the best of our abilities with as much alert, vibrant intelligence as possible. Being with breath and allowing the magic of the pose to bring its gifts. Receiving those gifts. Patience, breath. Now let's bend the knees and bring the feet back to the railing. Re-roll the shoulders back, connect with your arms again. Press the arms down, press the back ribs up. The sternum plate blossoming open even more deeply than we thought possible. And now, let the knees open away from each other, finding Virabhadrasana and the outside edges of the feet joining and pressing against the railing. So we think it's a passive pose. It's not. We need to press the outer feet against each other to awaken the outer thighs and the outer hips. And they are contracting in and up. The indent of the hips, the bolting of the hips, very much happening the entire time we're here. And then explore with the breath how the shape inside is different, how the base of the trunk, the pubic bone, the organs of excretion, of reproduction are all being bathed in a new broadness, a new openness. The outer hips and the outer thighs have to work, the outer feet also. Almost there. Keep checking in with your outer hips, your outer thighs, your outer feet, squeezing. And now let's bring the legs back in. Let's release our hands. We're going to be sliding out, sliding backwards. So gently, one shoulder at a time off the bolster, sliding back, coming down until the hips are comfortably on the bolster. And just resting the legs, extending the arms and resting the shoulders too. Deep inhalation, deep exhalation. And now, let's push ourselves back even further, and this time we want our lower back to be completely on the blanket. So you really want to tilt the pelvis and just resting here, not in Savasana yet, just conscious pressing into the feet, the calves in such a way that the pelvis is tilting and the lower back is really connecting to the earth. And then feet coming off, rolling over, coming back out. So always wanting to end with that nice firm support on the spine. And it is now the moment you might have been waiting for, Savasana. So we're going to need one blanket for the neck and head. You can have your legs on the chair. I'm actually going to have the bolster underneath the backs of my knees today. But picking the variation that compels you, that draws you most. So, blanket, neck and head. And if you have a very stiff neck, if you have a tendency to feel like this in your Savasana, you can also double this blanket under the neck and head up so that it lifts the head, accommodating, always accommodating for the vehicle we're in. Blessed Savasana. Moving the buttocks towards the bolster so the lower back has that support. It will recognize it because we just really meditated on it. So we'll come right back to that. And then extending the arms. And this is our moment of complete surrender. It's a beautiful moment of bhakti, of devotion, infusing Savasana with the devotional aspect of complete letting go-ness. So the eyelids softly closing like flower petals. The eyes melting backwards. The brain melting. Warm honey trickling, melting. Everything melting. Savasana. And then, keeping the eyes closed, gently rolling over to the right hand side of the body. And keeping the eyes closed, gently pushing ourselves back up. Taking a final seat. Giving thanks for this practice. Giving thanks for the clarity and the wisdom we receive from practice. The openings that come. And the divine wisdom that shines its light through. Loka samastaha, sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And when you feel ready, the eyelids fluttering back open delicately, the gaze immediately diffusing, the eyeballs staying soft, not hardening. As the senses just turn back out to the outer world. And now we are fully present and aware of the inner, the outer, a multitudinous awakening. Welcome back. Our practice is complete. Be well. Namaste. See you soon.